This podcast is brought to you by the following
Why don't you go like
sponsors.
this and have lightning come from your hands? Yeah.
I'll just do this.
Effects.
Finishers MMA is located at 3761 Nicholas Street in Easton, PA, Lehigh Valley's home for 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. The amount of people that they have over there instructing is insane. They have J.M. Holland, John Thor Blanks opening up 10th Planet Allentown, Zach Meslaney, Grace Gundrum. It is elite teaching over there. They teach self-defense, no-gi jiu-jitsu, and kickboxing. They have a kids martial arts program that is building and growing, and Grace is teaching every single kids class. Get over there. They are the biggest killers in the game. That's 3761 Nicholas Street in Easton, PA. Do you have anything to interject?
You didn't let me talk. I don't know.
No, I would like trying to get quicker on that. But they have multiple schools, and it's www.finishersmma.com. That has their schedule on there, and it has when they rotate everything. And they have evening classes because if you work and you can't get there, they even have, I think, an 8 o'clock class on Wednesday.
The thing I like the best is that they treat people with respect. It's not like one of those weird places you go and they talk down to you and, you know, like I'm a big bad sensei kind of crap.
No, not at all.
They're super cool guys. Everybody that goes there is nice. Everybody's friendly. It's just a wonderful place to go and learn jiu-jitsu. Wonderful place to go learn choke people.
Yeah.
Just go choke some people.
Every time I've been over there, and I get a little intimidated sometimes going into classes like that, even like going to the gym or like the Y, I get a little uncomfortable, and they make you feel at home there. Super professional. The guys have been doing it for a while. Zach, JM, and Thor all have their black belts. So
and they have crazy top-notch equipment. Everything is awesome. It's not some...
Yep. Every now and then they do
awesome. It's an awesome place.
Seminars and stuff there too. So check it out. It's finishersmma.com, and they are located at 3761 Nicholas Street in Easton, PA. Their social media is everywhere, so you can go find them. And thank you guys for being a sponsor. Taylordedgewoodco Company. Drew Hoagland. They make handmade and local crafting and bringing you gorgeous custom wood design. If you're looking for a custom table, nightstand, countertop, and more, they can help you. Drew made this table and that desk. A lot of people always have asked us who did this, and it was Taylordedgewoodco Company. Their social media you can find is Taylordedgewoodco on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram has a lot of the pictures and stuff. That's the best place to follow them. They just got the website up. It should be running by the time this airs, but that's Taylordedgewoodco.com, and he's going to have cutting boards on there. Their T-shirts are really cool. I know they're doing fall shirts for that, and he's just a stand-up guy. He's done nothing but help the show since day one and has really ultimate crafting.
Yeah, if you're looking to get something different for your home, and you don't want to have the same boring home with the same boring box store, stupid tables that are particle board that are wrapped in crappy vinyl stuff, check him out. He'll come and give you an estimate, let you pick out whatever you want. He's a crazy nut for black walnut, and he loves the stuff, the smell
He's
of it.
Obsessed with
crazy.
it.
It's a little awkward, but he's very very talented. And like I said, if you want something custom and nothing says that you're cool, then I have a damn custom table and you don't.
Yeah, and you get professional quotes, and he's also got that he's going to be having that on the website where you'll be able to get quotes off of there. So if you're looking for top-notch,
locally sourced,
everything's out of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, support local people.
Yeah, so hit them up. You can hit up Taylordedgewoodco@gmail.com for any inquiries on what you need. Instagram's a good way to get a hold of him, and he runs it with his wife, so they're super local to us, and they helped us out since the beginning. So please go check them out, and thank you for being a sponsor.
All right, our next sponsor is All Valley Rooter and Plumbing.
Jared LaBarba. I've been friends with Jared for almost my entire life, and he came down to the studio looking to sponsor, and we had a long conversation, and he wanted help building in the Nazareth area. He has a lot of work in the Lehigh Valley, but he specifically wanted to get into Nazareth, and we have a really big reach in Nazareth. It's not a big place, but we do have bigger reach than anyone else here.
We control the whole
We
town.
own Nazareth. But Jared went through his whole story and told me everything he's doing, and his plumbing is top notch. Yes. They do faucet repair, sub pump replacement, sink installation, pipe installation, leaks, toilet repair, and more. They have 24-hour service, 365 days a year. They charge by the job, not the hour. All services come with a 1-year warranty and guarantee. He's going to be our plumber from now on if we have any problems with the sink and whatnot. Yeah. Having plumbing issues is probably one of the biggest headaches ever.
It's one of those things that if something goes bad with your plumbing, it's really bad. There is no minor plumbing issue. And it's good to have someone that's local that you can call, that you know, and say, hey, I really need your help, as opposed to some guy that's going to spend, he's going to take 3 hours to get there and he's going to show up. He's going to overcharge you. It's just not worth it. Go with a local guy, super professional. He can do everything you really want. He lists a bunch of stuff there, but I'm pretty sure he can do pretty much everything involving plumbing. So I'm just going to call him for everything. So. Whatever.
Yeah, and you have 2 properties that you can use them for now, too, because you didn't have a good experience.
No, they were horrible.
I wish you would say who it was.
I really hate that.
His website is allvalleyrouter.net, and that is the place where you're going to find all of the information you need to get a hold of Jared if you have any plumbing issues, or if you're just trying to get quotes for stuff. But they are 365 days a year. They are open 24 hours, and we want to thank him for being one of our first sponsors on the show. It means a lot, and all you Nazareth peeps or anybody in the Lehigh Valley who wants a trusted, reliable, professional plumber, please contact Jared.
And our next sponsor is Rips Auto Detail. I love this guy. Go ahead.
One of my favorite guests on the show.
Cool. He's a really nice guy. He's a very good DJ also, by the way.
Yes, and he's super professional at his job. He's got over 15 years of experience. He's located at 630 North Nelson Street in Allentown, PA. He does paint correction, ceramic coating, interior, and pro auto detail. If you follow him on Rips Auto Detail on Instagram, it's insane what this guy actually does with a car.
I am recommending that you go to Popeyes, which is right up the street, and you put fingerprints all over your vehicle, and then you go there, and he will make it perfect again.
Yeah, he's got 15 years of experience. He's got a package for everyone. What he stressed on the show is that he doesn't just do super high-end vehicles. Yep. He can do anything from, if you just have a daily driver and you just like having a clean car, you can get that done, all the way up to getting a boat done.
Yeah, well, it's worth it because I had my SUV detailed last year, actually, just because, especially when you live around here with the salt and everything else, if you get a really good detail on it, it actually will keep your car looking better than dealing with all the salt, because you keep going for car washes and stuff. That's not good. So if you get a really good detail on it, it actually will help all that stuff. So it basically winterizes your thing. And plus, when it gets nice out, you just go there and get it, just touched up a little bit, get it, refreshed, and you have a car that doesn't look like you're a slob.
You can contact him directly on Instagram, and that's at Rips Auto Detail, or you can call him at 484-553-1366. If you really want to know what this guy does, check out our past podcast with him. It's got a boatload of information. I didn't know, I knew he was good at what he was doing, and he opened his own business and all that, but to hear the story of how he got to where he's at, and the 15 years experience, he's a super pro. He's a really great guy. Just go check out his stuff at Rips Auto Detail on Instagram, Facebook, and his website is coming soon. So go check him out, and he's one of our first sponsors as well. And we couldn't do the show without all these people, so I want to thank everyone. And shout out to Rips Auto Detail, and give him a follow.
And he gives you a free bucket of chicken.
No, he does not.
He's from Popeyes, says he does. Put that in there.
He didn't even like Popeyes.
Rips, you need to give out free chicken. Thank you.
Check out what he's doing on social media, and we won't use that part. And then we'll end it with, this is a professional Class A operation. Check out the podcast we did with him.
Our next sponsor is Valley Prep Meal Prep. This wonderful company is located at 23 South 9th Street in Allentown.
They are the premier and elite meal prep in the Lehigh Valley. What separates them from the others is that they're cooking all week long. I went over to their operation. It is legit awesome food. You did not get to try it because I ate it all when he brought the samples.
He stole it. He said it was wonderful. Those guys are the ones that do all the meal prep plans for the Iron Pigs.
Yeah, they found their niche and they're really growing their company. I'm excited to be a part of what they're doing, and they have, like, I didn't realize that they're doing delivery as well, and that's like a huge backbone of their business is the delivery.
So you have no excuse to not do it.
No, and the other thing too is they're not delivering you all of your meals one day. They're delivering throughout the week. So they're going to start on Sunday morning, and then they will deliver again on Tuesday and on Thursday, and that's in the evening so that you have time to get your meals after 5.
So that means all the stuff is fresh. That means they're cooking continuously throughout the week. That's
and
awesome.
They have people who know what they're doing over there. They have a super creative menu, and you can check out their menu on valleyprep.net, and that's where you're going to find out all of their information on the 3 different plans that they have. It's keto, low calorie, bulk, and I believe they're going to be introducing a athlete program as well, because Bill Lohr, I think, is going to be their first guy on
and
that.
They post it on Instagram and stuff like that a couple days ahead of time, so you can decide if you want in or not. Basically, you pay for the whole week, and they set you up. You can set it for either lunch or lunch and dinner or just dinner. They have tons of options, and it's good stuff. It's not,
fantastic people.
Yeah. Oh, the dude was so awesome when he came in. If you not, check out the podcast. It should be on this podcast. We're going to post another. But yeah, you'll love it. The guy's such a good guy.
They have quality prices that are anywhere between $7 and $9,
which is cheaper than maybe if you go to McDonald's and eat crap.
I mean, even they're right up there with Wegmans prices. I mean, and the food
it's more expensive. Wegmans is way more expensive.
Yeah. So
and this is way better food.
And they're delivering it, and they're doing it fresh all week. So that's valleyprep.net, and that has all your information. They do a shared change program with the high schools. They have meal prep on there. They have keto, low calorie, bulk. You can order right off there. Anything you want to do is connected to this. And then what also they can do is you go on to MyFitnessPal, and that has all your macros for all the calories and everything for the food. So if you're trying to diet or you're just watching what you're doing, it's the easiest way that you can shed pounds. And that's Valley Prep Meal Prep in the Lehigh Valley. They are in Allentown, and it is valleyprep.net. Thank you.
Our next sponsor is Luke Dellmyer Custom Knives. If you've ever wanted a custom knife, say a chef knife, say a camp knife, say any kind of cool custom knives, I'm sure any of you guys have watched Forge and Fire or whatever. This guy actually does that. He makes wonderful, crazy knives. He's leaps and bounds above anybody you're going to have around here. He's a good dude. You can contact him and give him basic parameters of what you want to make for our custom knives. He does sell his own knives on his website.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different knives on the website, and his Instagram as well.
Instagram, he puts it up a little bit, and he'll say, hey, man, I'm selling this. His website's lukedellmyer.com. Yeah, I mean, he lists a bunch of stuff. Like I said, you can ask for the custom stuff. He's starting a new line, which you can talk about, of the chef knives.
Yeah, the chef knife that he brought over to the studio was incredible, because he showed me the demo one that they started with that he made out of a leaf spring, which is insane. But then what he handed off to me, I immediately just wanted to start prepping and cutting onions.
You were trying to.
I was excited to cook, and that's what a chef knife should do. And if
you just kept telling him you wanted to use it to cut something.
I did. And if you're looking for a chef knife or any sort of custom knives that you would like in your life for whatever reason, this guy, the amount of work that he's putting behind it, the craftsmanship that's behind his actual craft with blacksmithing, the dude's extremely talented, extremely humble, and please go check out his social media, and it's Luke Dellmyer at Instagram. That's where you're going to get a lot of his knives. He's testing the knives.
But you forgot the coolest part.
What's that?
You want to make your own knife?
Yeah.
He's got classes.
Yeah. That's right.
He has his own classes. You can go there, look like an idiot, because that's what I'll probably look like when I do mine. But you can go there, and he offers classes and teaches you how to make a knife. And I think that's awesome, because there is no one and nowhere in this area that does that.
No. And if you're looking for a custom knife of any range, whether it's something that you're just looking for hiking, or if you're looking for a chef knife, or you're just looking to collect something as a hobby, go check out his social media, check out his webpage, get in touch with him, and see which knife is right for you. And that's lukedellmyer.com. And thank you for being a sponsor.
October 4th.
Third.
Are we
19
recording?
days. Yeah, 19 days.
Oh, you're recording?
Episode
Doesn't mean
Never
we're
Again
starting.
Radio, episode 16. Welcome to Never Again Radio, you 40-year-old bastard. We were just talking about how old we are. I went hiking with a friend of mine, and she had to explain to me that I wasn't turning 39 this year, and I was actually turning 40.
How do you forget how old you are?
I'll tell you how I forgot.
You're forever young?
No. Good Rod Stewart song, though. My brother, we're 11 months apart, and for a time period, we're the same age. And normally,
Fucking leap year.
he
bullshit.
has, I think I was just a mistake.
Yeah, probably.
No, my dad told me last year that I was. He goes, if there was any time your mother should have said no, it was with you.
Wow.
It was on my birthday he told me that. So
Happy birthday.
Richard didn't celebrate his 40th. He told my mom, like my mom was like, hey, what are you guys doing? And sometimes he'll have big blowouts up at his house. And he was like, I don't want to do anything. I just want to go out to dinner with the kids. So nothing was done for his birthday. And then I just kind of didn't think of it. So then I was like, oh, well, Richard didn't have a blowout for his 40th. I definitely turning 39 this year. My friend's like, you're so stupid. You ever forget how old you are?
All the time.
Yeah.
And then my wife reminds me, she's like, you're a couple years older than me, right? She goes, you're going to be 40. That's right.
Do you feel weird turning 40?
You know what's weird? Mentally, I feel like late 20s.
Yeah.
And then like you have that, like for I don't
your
know.
back hurts?
I might go to jiu-jitsu and I get the next day I wake up, I feel like I got hit by a train. I'm like, yeah, I'm
Physically,
I'm pushing 40.
Physically, I'm not excited for it. Mentally, I am. Like, I realize how stupid I was in my 20s now because I had the time to like mentally mature. So like, I'm excited to see, because 30s was weird, like turning 35 and going over that hump, and then going into 40. I feel like that's going to be like the prime of your mental state, and then I think probably 50 and on is when you just start deteriorating.
Yeah, I think 50 is going to be hard. I really do.
What is in your feathers in your cap? Blacksmith, knife maker, horse farrier?
Yeah.
How the hell do you get into any of those?
Opposite order though. I was a farrier, horseshoer.
Yeah.
I was a blacksmith, and then I got into knife making pretty recently. Long story short, I was in high school. I needed a job to pay for a car. I started throwing hay bales when I was like 12 years old. I grew up on a small farm, and our farrier came to the barn. He's like, "Hey, you want a job? You look strong. You want to shoe horses for the summer and work for me, nights and weekends?" I'm like, "Yeah." Throwing hay bales isn't a lot of fun. So I started apprenticeship with him when I was 15. I've been a farrier ever since, but went to college, got a wrestling scholarship, graduated college, business management.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Dellmyer for a year, then I went to East
I-
Stroudsburg for 3.
I drank at Delval a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of times.
Nice and local. Mm-hmm. I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian to start. That's why I went to Dellmyer.
It's a weird college. The people are awesome there, but you'll go to college and then you go up a block and there'll be.
Did they change the
hay
name of
bales.
that now?
It's a university now.
Yeah.
Delval University.
Yeah.
But it's weird because it's kind of like a town, and then you go around the corner and there's farms, and like we went there the one day and there's like hay bales stacked up everywhere in front of the college, and I'm like, this is very odd because this isn't where it should be. But yeah, it's a neat little town. I like the.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like I wasn't getting the full college experience. I went there because I got a pretty good amount of money to go there to wrestle, and we were doing practices like 2 or 3 times a day, and I had been wrestling since I was like, I don't remember when,
Probably 5.
tiny kid.
That's when I started, 5.
Yeah, and I was like, man, it's like
You get tired of it.
my senior year of high school, I didn't want to be there, but I went because my parents were like, you've been doing it this long, you should keep going. So I kept wrestling, and wrestled my first year of college. I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore. And I didn't get the grant money, so
How was it on a college level to wrestle?
it's hard, man.
Yeah, that's gotta be. It's just people fighting for scholarship money.
Yeah.
Your classes are scheduled around your wrestling training.
We get up in the
Are
morning.
you still cutting weight at that point?
Yeah, we're still cutting weight. I mean, we get up in the morning like 4:30 to run. We'd run a couple miles in the morning. We'd meet up around lunch,
So early.
around lunchtime.
Yeah.
Go work out in the gym,
Not eat.
or practice a little bit. Then we'd have night practice. Mm-hmm. Like, and I was already burned out. I'm like, man, this I don't want to do it anymore. I don't care how much money they're giving me. Time for the next step, and then I transferred to East Stroudsburg because it was cheaper.
Was that a hard decision to make, or were you just kind of at that point, we're like, I'm done?
At that point, it was easy.
Yeah.
I was done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long fucking time to put your body through that shit, man.
Yeah, man. It's not even that. Like, my body didn't hurt. It's just I had enough. I had enough.
And I can tell you, I wrestled when I was 5 every year. And we go all summer was tournaments, states, nationals, all that shit. Ever since I was 5.
Yeah.
And we got all the way up until middle school, and I was also playing baseball and football.
Right.
And it got until middle school, and our coach came in, and I didn't like him. Came in, and I didn't start, so I was basically everybody's drill partner. But I didn't start, and I was like, well, this is fucking bullshit. And I know it's like help your team out kind of thing, but it gets to be like, hey, I'm coming in extra time to help other people, and it's not really helping me.
And I'm working hard.
Yeah, I'm working hard, and I'm not, like, it's not doing anything for him. So he came into the locker room, and I was standing next to another kid, and he went to him. He said, boy, you really got fat. And the kid turned around and just goes, you know what? Fuck you. I'm not wrestling anymore. And I was like, well, here's my shot. I go, you know what? Neither am I. Nice. And he goes, really? I go, yeah, we're done. We're just playing football. My dad wasn't super happy about that. But when I was so fucking tired, I can tell you right now, my daughter cheered 1 year for wrestling, like little kid wrestling.
Right.
It's fucking flashbacks. You walk into the gym, all the fucking smells, all that stuff. I was like, I fucking hate it. I hated it. I never realized I hated it so much.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, if you can wrestle, it's a good starter for everything you want to do. You'll never lose that skill, ever.
Yeah, man. And you know what? Like, I've done a lot of sports. I played baseball. I played football, wrestled, jiu-jitsu. I mean, jiu-jitsu's super tough too, but before I even knew what jiu-jitsu was, I wrestled my whole life. And man, I'll tell you what, wrestling gives you a work habit, an ethic
sure.
that is, it's amazing. I mean, if you can survive wrestling practice. I mean, our coaches would walk into the wrestling room, which was like, I don't know, 30 by 30. They'd hang ice bags on the thermostat so it would never turn off. I mean, I just remember being like, I mean, it's tough, hats off to wrestlers.
Yeah.
It's hard.
So you transitioned to where, East Stroudsburg then?
Yeah, so I went to East Stroudsburg.
Was that do you feel like you had an actual college experience there because you weren't wrestling from sun up till sundown?
Yeah, I wasn't living at home anymore.
Yeah.
You stayed on campus?
I stayed on campus. I stayed and got my first dorm room.
Yep. I drank in those dorms too.
Yeah, it was a good time.
It's a dry campus, mostly.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Outlaw.
No.
Jesse Shive.
Yeah, outlaw. No. It's just the RA that was there. We came in with a bunch of beer, and he just goes, hey, you're an outlaw. Shut up. And then we just kept walking. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, like, don't let us see it.
Yeah, don't be a
Yeah, we used to bribe. I used to go with
officials.
No, Patton was up at Allentown College, and they won a raffle and got the old RA's room. So they basically had an apartment that like 4 of them lived in.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The only thing that sucked was right outside their door was the RA, or it was actually a security guard. It wasn't even the RA. It was just a security guard that had to watch the door, and he was cool. And I was 21 at the time. Kevin's a little younger than me, so I'd come in with 2 duffel bags, and I'd be like, hey, Frank, and he'd be like, clank, 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 and he's like, you got to sign in, and Kevin would be like, what do you want to eat? And he'd order him food, and the guy didn't give a shit because we fed him cheesesteaks and pizzas.
As long as you're not...
that works.
As long as you're not acting like a fucking idiot.
They finally got kicked out, and then... Kevin was like, did you know what was going on? He's like, you fucking kidding me? It's just like, you threw massive parties every night.
They just look the other way.
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? Fight with kids and make your job miserable, or sit at a desk and look at your phone
and do nothing
and just make sure no one gets hurt?
Right.
Yeah.
No, I can tell you, my cousin, he had a scholarship for Lehigh for wrestling, and he said it was a nightmare.
I mean,
like, you literally, he's like, he went to school, but he said, you're just wrestling. Your classes are completely secondary.
Yeah.
Like you literally get your wrestling schedule and then they just fill in your classes around it. So you have no life.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So business is what you were doing at East Stroudsburg then?
Yeah, I went for business management and finance. Originally, I went to Dellmyer. I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian because I grew up, around horses and livestock. And I was a farrier at the time. I was like, man, this would be cool. I can incorporate everything together and, make some kind of good livelihood doing it. And then wrestling kind of burned me out, and I saw how much work there was to become a veterinarian.
Yeah.
And I was working with some veterinarians at the time because I was shoeing horses. So, I was working with vets, and they're like, man, sure you want to do this? It doesn't pay that good, and it's a lot of work. You're on call all the time. And I was like, no, I don't really know that this is what I want to do. So I went the business management route and finance. And
yeah, and I mean, even if worst case scenario, you don't use that, that's such a skill to use for starting your own business. Like you can apply that to so many different things.
Right. It was helpful to have. Did I need it? No.
Yeah.
But it's helpful to have. I graduated. I got a job doing finance for 6 months. Wasn't my cup of tea, and I went back to shoeing horses.
Were you in an office?
Yeah, I was just in an office.
Man, I can't picture you in like a shirt and a tie, locked to a desk all day,
just crunching numbers.
Yeah.
I thought it's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad was, he was a mason by trade. Mm-hmm. He was a hard worker, and he's like, go to school, have an easier life than I did. So that's what was always in my head. You don't want to. Using your hands is hard work. I mean, I worked hard my whole life. I mean, we grew up on a farm. My dad always had me doing things.
Yeah.
I was at a farm throwing hay bales. I was shoeing horses. I was never afraid to work. It's just in my mind. If you want a good life, you go to school. You go to college. So, long story short, I did it for 6 months, and I was like, you know what? I like being a farrier. I like shoeing horses. I like being outside. So I'm going to go back and do that. And by that time, I'd almost built up a full, clientele for my farrier business.
Did you start that full time then because you had enough people? Or was it kind of like, all right, let's see how this works, and you start contacting your clients, and then you just start kind of doing farrieing on your own?
I pretty much had a full-time clientele while I was doing my other job as well.
Damn.
So I was trying to run two businesses at the same time. So, I mean,
That's always fun.
I was working I'd work 7 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day, and
But you're used to it because, like you said, you wrestled, you grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
To you, that's semi-normal.
And I liked it. I mean, I was making great money, like for a guy my age, I was like, man, I'm killing it. But I was killing myself at the same time. Now that I'm almost 40, man, my body's starting to feel tired.
Nonsense.
But, yeah, and then from there, I got into ornamental ironwork. After college, one of my best friends growing up, his dad was a union pipe fitter, and he did ornamental blacksmithing on the side. And I remember we were friends since, I don't even remember, maybe we were 10, 11, 12 years old. I'd go to his house, and his dad would be down in his shop. He had this old stone building that was his blacksmith shop. And we'd walk in there sometimes. He's like, I got to go ask my dad if we can go do this or do that. I'm like, okay. And we'd walk in, and he just wanted to get in and out. And I saw his dad there with the coal fire going, just hitting steel on the anvil. And I was like, man, this is really cool.
It's fucking man work.
Yeah.
They get fucking men.
Yeah, something about
moving
it.
fucking metal with hammers.
Right?
Yeah, who wouldn't want to do that? Who wants to get in there and leave right away?
Yeah, like as a man.
Let's get out of here. Let's go ride our bikes. Fuck that. Let's build some fucking axes.
Let's watch.
If there was fans in there, I'd probably stay.
There's no air conditioning. This is bullshit in here.
That's awesome. Well, I was kind of at the other end of the spectrum. I was like, man, this is awesome. Like, this guy's got raw material,
Sure.
like just making stuff by hand. And I thought it was awesome. And I'd sit there and watch him, and I was like, you know what? One day maybe I could do this. And I hemmed and hawed about it, and then after college, and I started shoeing horses full time, I'm like, I'd really like to have another hobby that I'd enjoy and I could make some money doing. So I contacted him. I said, hey, Wayne, would you take me on as an apprentice? I said, I can't do it full time. I'm working full time, but, nights and weekends.
Yeah.
So I started doing an ornamental blacksmithing apprenticeship. I did that for about 10 years, roughly, apprenticeship, and then stuff on my own. A lot of gates and railings and candelabras and, just things like that. And then I kind of got a little burned out from that. And I'm like, man, I've always liked knives. And then I made a knife one day, and I thought it was the coolest thing I ever made. Looking back at it,
What was the first one you made?
it was a railroad spike knife.
Do you still have it?
I do. I didn't bring it, and I'll never show anybody it.
Why not?
Because it's like, actually, I shouldn't say I won't show anyone that. And, it's a starting point. Like,
Yeah.
from what I made then to what I can make now.
Yeah.
It's
important to hold on to that stuff. Sometimes when I'm going through inventory, I'll find all of the first T-shirts I ever made, and then like I'll just look at it like, man, like you had no fucking clue what you're doing. Like it'll look like a normal T-shirt to anyone else, but as soon as I touch it, I'm like, man, you were using the wrong T-shirt. You didn't find your T-shirt at that time, and then it just took me back to like everything I did wrong.
Yeah. Same here, man. I look at it, I'm like, and I was so proud of that knife. I showed everyone that knife. I was like, hey, man,
Yeah.
look what I made. And, but like, I like to think I'm pretty tenacious, like it didn't turn out quite the way I wanted it, but,
Listen,
I like
does it go stabby?
it's stabby,
Then
but
it works.
not as good as the new ones.
Yeah, but it still works. If you did it and it would snap or break, then you fucked up. But it works.
Yeah,
Did you take
it's
what
functional.
you were learning from, like how much of the blacksmithing applied into you making the knife? Like, is there a specific set of craft that you had to learn? Like, if you didn't do that 10 years of blacksmithing, would you have been able to make the knives that you do now?
Yeah, so here's the thing. You don't need to be a blacksmith to be a knife maker.
Yeah.
There's knife makers that cut things out with a bandsaw or laser cut them or plasma cut them, and they sharpen them. They grind them. And hey, grinding is probably it's the hardest part of knife making, no doubt. But to be a blacksmith and knowing how to forge something from whatever size stock you have, it's hard. And if you can have blacksmithing skills, if you could be a blacksmith and then a knife maker, and not just because that's the way that I did it, if you can be a blacksmith and become a knife maker, I think that's the best way, because you're understanding how metal moves.
Well, yeah, don't say, doesn't blacksmithing help you with forming things?
Right, exactly.
Like, it'll help you actually form a knife better than if you're just, well, I know the knife kind of looks like this. And
For someone,
wing it.
for someone who does not know what blacksmithing is at all, what is the process of blacksmithing?
So blacksmithing is pretty much taking a piece of raw metal, no matter what the size of it. Say it's an inch square, inch by inch, or inch by inch and a quarter, whatever it is, whatever size metal it is, you're taking that piece of metal and you have a mental picture of, say, one of these knives on the table, and you're like, I'm going to make that knife. Okay? So I'm going to take a hammer, I'm going to put that piece of metal in the fire, I'm going to heat it up to the right temperature, because you don't want to overheat it, or you can ruin it. You don't want to underheat it, or it won't move, it'll crack. So you know how to manipulate the metal at the right heat to get it to where you want. Where someone who's not a blacksmith is just going to draw, they'll take that size stock, stock meaning that size metal. So like this knife is like, say it's 1.5 inches wide by 1/4 inch wide. They're going to draw the design on it. They're going to cut it out on a bandsaw. Then they're going to, and then they're going to shape it on the grinder and grind it. So they're not actually using blacksmithing techniques to forge that knife. They're cutting it out and grinding it, which is still, that's awesome. I mean,
Just a different process.
It's another way to do it. There's,
Yeah.
I'm not frowning upon that. It's just a different technique. But if you can do both, there's a lot of guys that cut knives out. This is called stock removal. They'll cut the knives out and grind them, but they have no idea how to even turn a fire on or how to forge with a hammer.
But it's way cooler if you can take the springs out of a fucking car and make a knife out of it.
Absolutely.
Than taking a flat piece of metal and cutting it out with a fucking laser cutter is the easy route.
You're skipping some processes.
Yeah, you're like, hey, look, this steel's already properly hardened and it's perfect to go. I just cut it and grind it and we're good to go.
Right.
Which is cheating. It's cheating. You can admit it. You don't have to try to be nice about it.
No
Listen,
comment.
It's fucking cheating. Cheaters. But
some people say it's cheating.
I do. Jesse Shive. Mark it down.
But it's kind of cool to grab, even like grabbing a leaf spring off a truck, like you said, and forging that out into a knife, or
how fucking cool is that?
Yeah, because you made that test chef knife that you gave me just to check on weight and stuff. That was made out of a leaf spring, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Leaf
Like when you
it's
told me
good
that, I
steel
was
to
like,
use.
what the fuck? And you're like, yeah. You're like, that thing over there is what I turned into it. And then that's when I don't think that some people realize like what your actual craft is. So like when you have the ability to do knife making and you also have the ability to do blacksmithing, where do you find your craft actually being at? Is it a blend of both, or do you do more blacksmithing because you can do it, or does it depend on the knife?
So I think it depends on the knife. There's a lot of different types of knives, and the way they're forged is different, which I'm not going to bore you guys. I could talk hours about different forging techniques.
We'll go over one forging technique at least.
But it's it's like, the way I forge most of my knives is 90% of my knives are forged.
Now, do you have a coal forge? You have a gas forge? What do you have?
So I have a coal forge and a gas forge.
Oh, you got both.
So I learned.
Oh, a phantom man.
It's probably so hot in there.
There's definitely no fans. There's no fans in his place.
It's funny. I'm pretty resourceful. So I just built my own forge. I mean, I have other forges that I had forever, but I wanted to build my own forge. It's just something I wanted to do.
Now, would you prefer the gas or the coal, or the what do you like?
So it depends on the process. Traditional. I'm kind of a traditionalist, so I like the coal forge out of that aspect.
So I guess it's the same argument as using like a regular grill to cook food. There's the traditionalists that want to go, oh, you have to use charcoal.
Yeah.
And there's people like, fuck that, just put gas. It's quicker.
Yeah.
It's
It'll
faster.
be done. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So it's the same kind of argument.
But here's the difference. Coal will get hotter than propane faster. So like for blacksmithing, we're isolating heat and metal. So the coal fire, we put coal, it's called a fire pot. We put it in the fire pot. The fire pot's only so big, so we have to move that metal around to heat different areas. And you have to heat it so that each surface area gets hot equally, if that makes sense.
Yeah, evenly, yep.
Where a propane forge is a much bigger area that will heat a bigger surface. And it's a more constant heat, so it's more equal. So for knife making...
But it takes longer to get up to temp.
That's right. So for knife making, there's different processes we do in knife making. It's not only forging the blade and grinding the blade, but there's also like thermocycling and quenching the knife.
So here's my biggest question that I always wanted to fucking ask you. What fucking oil are they dipping it in? What kind of oil is that?
So
I've never fucking read anything. People say, this is oil. But what fucking oil? What is it?
All right. So
is there a special oil?
There is special oil. There's metallurgic oils that you can buy that are very expensive, and there's two.
So are they impregnated with something? That's what makes them, or is it just the temperature that it?
No, it's the makeup of the oils. There's two different oils, and depending on the type of steel that you're using, there's fast quenching and slow quenching steels. So we have a quench oil that's made for fast quenching oil, or fast quenching knives. It's called Parks 50. And then we have a slow quenching oil. It's called AAA for like leaf springs, like 5160. It's all about the process.
But now, what is the oil like? What does the oil consist of? Is it like what I'm trying to get at? Is it like a petroleum, or is it more like a seed oil? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what, you don't know what it's made of?
I have no idea.
That's what
what do they use the oil for?
The oil is for the hardening of the blade. So once your blade's forged, and we usually do thermal cycling processes, and what that thermal cycling does is after the blade is forged and before you quench it, all we're going to do is we're bringing all those molecules back to a stable state because they're all different sizes from forging it and getting it at different temperatures. So we do 3 to 5 thermal cycling or normalizing heats. So we'll bring it up to, depending on the steel, say we bring it up to, let's just say 1450 degrees. We'll bring it up to that heat. We'll take it out of the fire. We'll let it air cool till you can touch it. That's one time. And that might take 10 minutes. But we'll do that 5 times to bring all the molecules back to a uniform property. And then when we quench it, that's the last step after we normalize it. Once we quench the blade, it almost becomes like a glass.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard if you drop it on the floor, it's not going to break like glass, explode, but it's going to crack into a couple pieces. So that's what this oil does is it takes the heat out of the blade so fast that it's hardening the steel.
That's fucking crazy.
Right. And that's why
it comes down to like molecular level. And
yeah.
That's what I never understood. Like you watch, and that's what I always say, you watch the people on the show or whatever show it is, and they're like, coal forges will get it too hot, or they'll put it in like water. They're like, don't put it in water.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why is water? And I guess it doesn't cool it down as fast or something. Is that what fucks it up? I don't know.
Yeah,
oil, it dissipates the heat faster, evenly.
Water cools faster. So water,
oh, really? Okay.
Water causes it to crack. So back in the day, that's all.
they had.
That's all they had.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I didn't know if like back in that they did have like whale oil and like weird oils.
Right.
That's why I'm wondering if they ever used that shit. Like if they just did that with like whatever oil came up from fucking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and people still do. Like, I mean, when I first started, when I didn't have the money, or like I wasn't really making any money making knives when I started, so I used canola oil.
Yeah.
Like that's like the poor man's quench oil. If you don't want to spend a bunch of money on metallurgic quenches.
What are you gonna buy it by? Like the 55-gallon drums?
5 gallons.
Yeah.
But like for example, like a 5-gallon quench oil is like $200.
Yeah. How long? Like how much use do you get out of it?
It'll last you 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, might even last longer. But it's not cheap.
Who taught the guy who taught you how to blacksmith? How did he learn how to blacksmith? Through somebody else?
Yeah, he there's a guy who lived near him, actually in Regalsville.
Yeah.
And he was a blacksmith, and he was, like I said, he was a union pipe fitter. And I guess he approached the guy and just said, "Hey, I want to learn how to blacksmith." And he's much older than me. I think he's in his 70s now. And said, "Hey, I want to learn how to blacksmith." And he kind of did the same thing that I was doing. Nights, weekends.
Do a lot of people blacksmith, or is it primarily like a hobby at this point?
I think blacksmithing is kind of a dying trade. There's a lot of fabricators.
Yeah.
That buy parts and weld them together, but there's not a lot of blacksmiths anymore. There is a lot of knife makers since
There is now, yeah.
Since Forge and Fire came on. I mean,
you can buy forges on eBay now. Like that's how popular it was. Before, I never saw anybody.
Yeah.
You never see that ever.
That's kind of like what the culture does. Like when the tattoo
I wouldn't necessarily buy one.
Like when the tattoo shows came out. Like that was the first time I noticed my parents started. It was acceptable for me to have tattoos. Like it used to be like huge fights with them when I'd come home and they'd be like, "What are you doing?" And then when those shows came out, I started noticing my mom would be like, "Oh, show the lady at work," and I'm like, "Oh, now all of a sudden this is art."
Come here, you dirty pig.
Yeah, so like, when those shows, even cars, when the car shows come on, or pawn shows and all that, it just, the culture whips it up, and then it just becomes what is normal and popular.
Yeah, for sure. But knife making's gone crazy. I mean, you used to be able to buy an anvil, say, for example, for $2 a pound. Right?
Oh, it did. I had a friend that was looking for one.
If you can find one now, you're going to pay $6 to $8 a pound for an anvil.
Yep.
If you can find one.
If you can find one. What you have to do is, and it's funny, is he was looking at old, like when like machine shop shut down, or old, like, just any kind of machinery, like warehouses and stuff.
Yeah.
They'll post all their stuff like, "Hey, we're having auctions." And he went to one. And he was like, "Yo, they have fucking 20 anvils here." And they all sold for hundreds and thousands.
And they're beat up.
Yeah, and they're beat shit. But he
said
he was like, "I thought I could like sneak in and grab one for like $100, $200." And he's like, their first bid was $200. And he's like, "Fuck, I'm out." Like they just, but that's how popular it is.
Yeah, it's insane. And
there's no way around it, right?
No, man, it's all because of Forge and Fire. I mean, you can't really make your own anvil.
No, and you can't. What else can you hammer on?
I mean, some guys use a piece of railroad track. I mean, you're not gonna get very far with that, but you can do it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
what makes an anvil so special that like that's the most unique thing to use for hammering out on?
Well, I mean, it's a huge block of steel that has different angles and radiuses on it, so that you can forge, you can hammer on it and make the metal move the way you want to. But I mean, it's a lot of steel. I mean, most anvils, I mean, like a small one, say 100 pounds. The ones that, like I have one in my shop, it's like 400.
So you lucked out with having a lot of this equipment from just blacksmithing.
Yeah, I had a lot of it.
So you didn't really have to dump a lot of money when the market went up. That all this shit's super expensive now.
I had most of it. Like I dumped a lot of money on a grinder. Like for knife making, grinding is a big thing.
That's worth it because you're going to use it all the time.
I mean, you can dump a couple $1,000s on a knife grinding machine.
Did you ever get a press?
I built it. It's fully functional.
Oh, Jesus.
And it's so strong, it actually flexes the I-beam. I'm so proud of it. So you guys will have to come check it out. Yeah. But the press is up and running. I built it myself. I mean, to buy a press, like a good one, like the one that I built, is probably around $7,000. I mean, I built it out of scrap metal and bought the hydraulics. I mean, I probably have $2,000 into the press that I built, and it works awesome.
Yeah, good.
So, and now I know a lot about hydraulics, which I really didn't know anything about.
What'd you do? YouTube it?
No, man, I just started moving hoses and parts and
Figured out the old way.
yeah, people are like, you should be really careful. You know, it's like a laser beam if you get a hole. They're like, like how, like, back in the day, guys would walk through a ship with a broom out in front of them, through the steam pipes in case there was a hole, it'd cut the broom in half. They're like, it's pretty much the same thing with hydraulic fluid at 3,000 pounds of pressure.
Oh yeah, it's like a razor blade coming out of the thing.
Yeah, so I'm still here.
Yeah. Were you nervous at all, or just didn't give a shit?
I was actually really nervous.
Yeah, I mean, not even.
You had such an opportunity to look cool. I would have cut it into a promo.
Not even having. I don't even know how much pressure it is on. I remember I was helping this guy, and he had a backhoe, and that's all hydraulics.
Same thing.
One of those lines went, and it shattered the fucking window.
Yeah,
it went over, and just the pressure of the fucking fluid hit it, shattered the window. I was like, wow. Yeah. I'm so glad I'm not fucking in there.
It's bad. It's bad. It can be really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was so special about the knife? Because I'm sure there was a million different things that you made over the years. What was it about the knife that you were like, wanted to continually making it until it was something perfect?
Well, I guess I've always been like ever since I was a little kid, I've been fascinated with knives. I don't know why. I mean, I think most boys are. I mean,
yeah.
No, I had knives growing up. I remember I got my first knife from my grandfather. Like there was an age we had to be at, and he definitely wasn't what my mom thought it was. But I remember getting the pocket knife from him, and he's like, everyone needs to have a pocket knife.
Yeah,
you should. Everybody have a pocket. I was.
Does
given
that still exist?
Yes.
What's that?
Like parents and stuff giving their kids pocket knives, or
my son's got so many knives.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I watch your Instagram. He's got 4-wheelers.
Yeah. No,
he's got a fantasy factory over there.
A friend of my dad's went and had a knife, and he did all the grinding, did all the handle, did all that work, but he bought the blade. But he presented it to me, like my dad passed, who was like, it's. I guess I don't know. He's Scottish or something, and I guess that's like a rite of passage. Like if a close friend died, like they present it to him. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but you're giving me a knife, so I'm all in. I don't know. It's
so funny you say that because like that's part of like why I do it. Like I mainly shoot horses, right?
Yeah.
I do an awesome job shooting. I really think I do a good job shooting horses.
But by the way, quick question before you continue: do you buy the horseshoes or do you make them?
So they make horseshoes so well now. I can buy a horseshoe for like $5 a pair.
So cheap, okay.
For me to make them would take me about 20 minutes. So it's it's kind of about like opportunity cost.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So I make them in special circumstances.
Yeah.
For corrective shooting, but most of them are store bought, manipulated in the forge.
Yeah.
To fit, we have different sizes like people's shoes. We manipulate the shoe to fit the horse.
So. All right, cool.
Yeah,
okay.
I figured if you weren't good at that, I feel like that's also not a lot of people do. So it's like if you sucked at horseshoeing, I would take it you wouldn't have a job.
Yeah. And then
so if you suck at your job,
it's not like the Wawa guy who just sucks at ringing you up.
Listen,
he could still suck at his job.
They all suck at Wawa, but the people at Sheetz, those are great Americans. That's what I say. Mark that down. Sheetz is better. But go ahead and continue.
Let's see. Oh, we're talking about you.
More of a Turkey Hill guy. I'm switching teams.
You fucker. They do have ice cream. They're all that. But
I like nothing about Turkey Hill.
The Sheetz up on 248 there, they now have beer.
Oh.
I saw they got Tall Boys up there. I said, whoa, dig Tall Boys. They took out all the soda.
I don't have a Sheetz near me. We have Turkey Hill.
Yep, you have Turkey Hill. I know where you're at.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't mind them. If you go to one of those more than a couple times a week, you hate it. Like if you went and ate at Sheetz every day for the entire week.
You sit on a throne of lies because I would eat there every day.
Dude, when we did tree work, we'd stop in there every morning, and at first it was like, cool, you can get a breakfast sandwich and a hoagie, and I have lunch for the week.
Tater tots?
Dude, 3 days in a row, and I'm like, I don't like this. It's like supersize me, where the guy just starts becoming depressed from eating fast food.
But anyway, go back to you.
We all pay for education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were talking about how you said someone gave you this knife.
Yeah, they present. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, he's Scottish, Irish, or something. And he said that something, and I guess I don't know if his wife is. Anyway, he presented. He said it was like a rite of passage that when something like that happens, like you present it as like you're passing on. Like I don't know. Like he considers me to be one of his brothers now.
It's an heirloom.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, it's an heirloom. I mean, it gets passed on from generation to generation, and that's.
And I was like, cool, man.
It's like firearms with grandfathers and stuff.
But I don't know what to say because I don't really like. I'm weirded by people giving me stuff, and
Yeah.
I wasn't really ready. So he did this big thing and like presented to me, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. It's a knife. It's cool. I really appreciate it. I just don't know how to. I don't know what I'm
You
supposed to say.
probably acted less excited than you actually were.
Yeah, I go. What am I supposed to give a speech or something? I don't know how I'm supposed to do it.
I don't know how you accept something like that.
I don't know.
But I like the process.
Bended knee.
I like the process of giving something, like something that's gonna be passed on. Like I shoot a horse, I do a great job. It goes out in the pasture and it looks bad again. You know, like I make a knife. You buy a knife from me. Like it's gonna be passed on, hopefully, from you to your son, maybe to his son, from generation to generation. And like to me, that piece of art lives on forever. You know?
That's awesome.
And it's part of a story too. You know, like I kind of like to think of all my knives as a story. I mean, like you know, some of my friends have some of my first knives, and I'm like, man, I feel bad I sold that to you. And they're like, dude, I love this knife.
You wouldn't feel as bad as you just took a piece of metal and you cut it out with a laser.
That's true.
So now we're in agreement that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't say it, but yeah.
I've seen that on like watching Forge and Fire, and they'll go like, "Hey, go to your home forge. They got to make swords." One guy was like, "I'm gonna make Damascus," and he'll sit there and do all this work, and the other guy's like, "I'm gonna make this out of spring steel," and he already has the thing cut. And he's just like, all he does is just grinding away. I'm like, you're not really fucking making it then.
Yeah.
You're just sharpening a piece of metal. So I always root for those people to lose.
Man, it all depends. It's all what you want to put into it,
Yeah.
you know. And the thing about Forge and Fire is, you know, they have to forge. You cannot come in there and do stock removal. But what is the acceptable amount of forging?
Sure.
You know, like you said, I mean, they might just forge a point on the end and grind the rest of it.
Yeah.
And then that's all judged by the opinions of three people.
Like I might have been on a show a while ago, and not to talk bad about my buddies on the show, but I was the only one that forged my knife. They might have forged the point on there, but I forged the whole knife.
Yeah.
And I mean, but I wanted to represent that. You know, I wasn't in. I mean, of course, I wanted to win, but at the same time, I wanted to show what I represented.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a blacksmith by trade.
Yeah, this is what I did. I made this.
Right. It's forged.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would you take, not shortcuts, but why would you do it any differently than how you would make it at your house?
Right, man. I mean, here's the thing. We had 3 hours to make a trench knife. And I don't know if you know what a trench knife is.
Yep.
It's a knife with brass knuckles in 3 hours. Dude, like, it's insane.
Yeah.
Like, that would take me, if I wanted to make a really nice, if you came to me and say, hey, Luke, I want a trench knife. I'd be like, okay. It's going to be 2 or 3 days for me to, 2 or 3 days only on your project to make you a trench knife. We had 3 hours to forge the blade or grind it.
Yeah.
And then we had 2 hours to put the handle on.
One of the things I dislike about that show, and they do it with my friend Alexis, was just on Ink Masters, and like watching those shows, like they just speed everything up. So it's like you can't even show what you're actually good at because they're forcing you to do it in these situations where they're not realistic situations at all. So that's
right.
like then how people perceive you on the show is how they want to do it because it's just in this crazy high intense time limit. And I get that's the show.
And I laugh at those because when those people come in and say, all right, you're going to give me a tattoo, and they have a time crunch, and if they don't finish it, like what does that do? Just feel like, fuck. Like I got like that finished fucking tattoo.
Yeah.
Like, what do they do? Do they let the dude finish it later?
I don't know. We'll ask her when she comes on.
I'm curious. Like,
I'd rather buy a knife that was rushed than a tattoo.
Yes.
Because I can buy another knife.
Yeah.
Yes.
You might not be able to fix a tattoo.
And you can fix a knife.
Go tattoo removal.
Yeah?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I want to get Mike back on, too.
Yeah. So anyway, I wish there was a show that was like, hey, this is what you need to do. We send a cameraman home with you to your shop.
Yeah, give you a week.
You got a week. You got 40 hours to build whatever knife. Give me whatever knife you want, but you got 40 hours to build this. Then you're gonna see some knives that people are gonna be like, wow, look at the craftsmanship.
There's
a
couple shows that are coming on Netflix now that aren't like on the Learning Channel and all that stuff where it's not like the speed time. Like there's a show on there where a guy like takes old rusted cars and then like restores them back and sells them, where you see more of like the craft of the stuff and then like it's a cool project as opposed to like crazy time like there's a time limit and you only have to do this and we're turning the lights out, figure it out.
It's cool. Well,
like,
there was another show similar to the show that you possibly might have been on that they make firearms. I know, give them a thing and say, hey, you're making a firearm, and these people are picking through like piles of screws and just random metal, and they literally make a firearm, like make everything themselves, forge everything.
Yeah.
That was a fucking awesome show. Like
Yeah.
it took them a week and a half or so, and it gave them a long time, but they literally like get a piece of steel and they'd sit there and make their own barrels. Make like that shit's cool to watch.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to see that nowadays. They want it's going to end in a 1 hour show.
Yeah.
What
It
a
has to
weird.
be
There's got to be a way to promote that part of the show too.
It had to be
though.
like a series kind of thing, like on a Netflix. It had to be like, you know what I mean? Like push it out.
Yeah, like you said, maybe like a 6-week series where you
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's the same guys making the same weapon. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think people would like to watch that too. Maybe.
I think there's probably more people that would enjoy that, or the people that like. There's probably so much of the audience that tunes in just because they either want more of that or they're interested in specific things, and then they're just stuck watching a game show.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the host,
What was it? What
host
like?
of Forge of Fire is a fucking
like-
crazy dude. He is awesome.
Yeah.
That dude's like a legitimate 3 different levels of fucking military. Like he's a legitimate like tough badass guy.
Yeah, I haven't met any of those guys yet, but yeah, they got some. That's the cool thing about Forged and Fire. You know, like Forged and Fire's got some judges on there that are knife makers.
Like
So
Nielsen.
yeah, like the show that I was on, the guys that are the judges weren't actually knife makers.
No.
What was it like doing TV?
For me, man, I'm like a.
Well, I remember you hit me up and you're like, "Hey, I got this Instagram message, and like, it's crazy that that's how they contact people." And you're like, "I don't know if it's real or not." And I'm just like, "Well, hit it back up and see
Yeah.
what they say." And then you're like, I think you called me and you're like, "Yeah, no, it's real. They want me to come on this TV show." And I'm like, "What?"
Where did you film
Yeah,
that?
I was shocked.
Where did you film that anyway?
So I don't know if I'm allowed to say where it was filmed,
But
even though
locally?
even though the show's already been.
Locally?
It was local,
Yeah.
which I was shocked
Because I followed.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna have to fly somewhere.
I was kind of excited. I'm like, where am I going?
Yeah.
And they told me, I was like,
I follow the female from that show.
okay,
She's a crazy gun like historian.
yeah,
She knows everything about fucking guns.
she does.
Yes.
And
She's
she-
legit, but she doesn't make guns.
Right.
Doesn't understand that. So she knows everything about the history of every fucking
But like you said, for the part of that show that was supposed to be a historical
Yes.
recreation, perfect judge.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah. But yeah, man, it was crazy for me to be on it. I mean, I'm not and not that I'm not social, but I don't know how to say
Now,
it.
did they try to make you a character?
They
like,
they try to make you trying to figure out how to say this without getting myself in trouble. You know, they definitely try to make characters.
Sure.
And it's whether or not you want to feed into that or not.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to feed into it. That's not me. I'm not going to say, you know, I'm going to say how I feel. And
Yeah, a lot of times
that's-
they'll like persuade you, like, "Well, what do you think if you would do this?"
right.
Or like, "What do you think if you would maybe act this way?" That's how all that reality television is.
Right. Or like, you know, like, what do you think about this person or that person? And
Yeah, it's like that.
It's
Dude's
like being
that dude's
in-
a
it's-
dick.
it's
And
like
I'm
being in the
are you-
office.
Wait, are you gonna tell him that? No, not
Yeah.
at all. That dude's a dick. And then it cuts to him just going, "Hey, fuck that guy."
Yeah.
It's like being in the office break room and someone's like
Yeah,
leaves
no.
and you're like, "Yo, don't you think that guy's a fucking weirdo?"
exactly. And I'm like, man, I don't know.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
But you
And then
know
they
what?
cut out that lady
I would
saying
be,
it.
I would be so excited. I was on TV. I would give in. I'd be like, "What do you want? What do you want me to?"
It's
do?
got to be weird.
What do you want me to be?
It took forever to just get used to having cameras here. Like, it's
Yeah.
fucking weird to be doing shit like that. It's even weirder for me, like when Muma and Jer are here, which I love because everything's a little bit tighter because they know what they're doing with the lighting and whatnot. Like, I'm just kind of walking in circles and with my fingers crossed. But like when they're here, I get weird that there's like people working on things and it's distracting. And then every now and then you'll just be like, "Fuck, man, like this is
No,
we're
I forget
fucking
it's on me,
recording."
and I
Yeah.
realize because I have to sit up straight that might start getting hurt. I keep going like this on my neck all the time. So I watch the show. I'm like, "Why is my neck?" If my wife goes, "What's the matter with you? Why is your neck crooked?" I don't know. I keep going like this all the time because I'm sitting straight up. This seat fucking sucks.
Was it weird for you to be in an atmosphere of them filming?
It was because I've never done anything like that. And
Yeah.
I mean, you have your own cameraman. So you have at least one. You have one or two cameramen of your own following just me around.
I didn't even think
is,
of that.
is the time legit?
Yeah, man. Time's
Okay,
legit.
legit. Okay, because I heard this from somebody, but I heard that even like Forge and Fire, like they'll pre-record some of the shit when they're like 60 minutes, 90 minutes, and they'll record a lot of extra shit.
Yeah.
And they filter it through.
So I've heard the same thing about Forged in Fire. I've never been on it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I've heard the same thing. Like some guys, and this is all rumor, but maybe they mess up the knives or no one finishes, so they give you extra time. I don't know.
I don't know.
What I was on was legit. I mean, they started the timer, and that was it. I mean, they started it. We went, and it stopped at 3 hours. I mean, that was it. So
that's cool.
Yeah. But
now my brother's texting me. He's like, "Yo, put me on speakerphone." Shut up.
God, put him on
In the middle of a podcast.
Who cares?
No, me. They want me to waste 20 minutes of editing.
Is that Roger?
No, it's Henry.
Okay.
We could segue into Roger.
We don't need to talk about Roger.
How I met him was my little brother apprenticed and worked under him. And what did he do? A year? Summer?
He did a year or two. I don't remember.
Yeah. But then I remember I met you originally at his bachelor party when we went up to the cabin.
Wow, you're right. That is how we met.
Yeah. And then you came up to me at the Finishers Christmas party, and I'm like, man, I know this guy. And he's like, yo. He's like, do you know who I am? And I'm like, I did. But then...
He didn't.
No, he looks... he's a familiar-looking face. So then he was like, yeah, I worked... He's like, Roger worked for me. No, it wasn't him. It was Roger I made out with.
Yeah, it wasn't even awkward.
But then that's how we got reconnected. Was he was like, yo, man, he's like, what do you think about like working on some T-shirts and stuff? And then that grew from there. And then I didn't even know you were doing the knives at the time.
Yeah, man. Well, the knives are new. I mean, I've only been making knives for... It's hard to believe. Actually, me and my buddy were just talking about it. I've been making knives for about 2 years, 2.5 years.
Yeah, but you've jumped significantly. Like the shit you're doing
is
at a level you probably shouldn't be at.
But a lot of that probably has to do with the
you have a lot of
blacksmithing.
Yeah, but you should, like when I see the pictures of all your stuff and that you have tons of knives on the table, you shouldn't be at that level at 2 years. You should still be making shitty. And I'm not trying to kiss your ass, but you really shouldn't be at that level.
Well,
which proves that you're really working your ass off.
Dude, I appreciate that, and I am thankful. I mean, I have a lot of people that I look up to in the knife making community saying, "Hey, man, you're doing a good job."
Yeah,
So I love it. I enjoy it, and I'm gonna get there as soon as I can. I mean, I'm trying to become. I want to become a journeyman for knife making. It's a rating you get through the American Bladesmith Society, and then eventually become a master smith. And I need to have one more year in before I can test for my journeyman smith. There's a time.
I saw that on your Instagram when you were with Jason doing that.
Yeah, my buddy Jason. Man, he's turned into like one of my best friends. Awesome guy.
Yeah, and you met him through the show?
Met him through Master of Arms. Yeah. We became great friends, and actually Andreas too. Andreas was on Master of Arms. He's the guy that won it. Great people. Jason went. There's a master smith in New York, and me and Jason we've been hanging out a lot. And he came from Minnesota to here to test with this master smith. He's like 3 hours away, and I was like, all right, man, I can't let you test by yourself. I'm making a test knife, even though I'm not. It's just for fun. I'm not eligible.
Yeah.
Theoretically, I can't test, but I could test for fun.
Mm-hmm.
So we went and tested. First test is a 1-inch hanging rope cut.
Now he has to have the knife prepared before the test.
Yeah, you forge the knife at home.
Does it have to be a specific knife?
It can be any type of knife you want, but it has to fall into a certain curriculum. So it can't be at the maximum length is 15 inches, including blade and handle. Maximum blade length, I believe, is 10 inches. So as long as it's within that, that's pretty much your only, criteria.
What are the tests? A rope?
So the first one's a 1-inch hanging rope. So they hang a rope. It's not tied to anything. It's just hanging.
So it's got to be super fucking sharp. Otherwise, you're just going to push the rope.
Dude, cutting through 1-inch rope.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying this to be, confident, but our knives cut through 1-inch rope like nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can only cut 6 inches up. So where the bottom of the rope up 6 inches. So you can't cut it in like the middle.
Cut it towards the top where it's fastened, so it doesn't really move.
Right.
Much.
So you got to cut 6 inches from the bottom. Yeah. Then after you do that, you got to cut through 2 2x4s with the knife. And then you got to shave the hair off your arm or your leg. And then there can't be any edge deformation. So if there's a chip in the blade, even a tiny one, you fail.
What about like a roll?
Done.
Nothing.
It's got to look like it before you started.
Wow.
Which is pretty impressive. And then you have to put the knife in a vise. bend it at a 90-degree angle. So I don't know if you've ever like put something in a vise and tried to bend it.
Wait. 90 degrees? Not 45.
No, dude, 90. Like.
Yeah, no, I know. I know what a 90-degree is. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that's... Okay, wow, that's... All right.
So, especially with a high-carbon knife, I mean, mild steel is no problem, but when you make something that the edge has to be hard enough to do all that, and then bend...
You didn't see the video? That was the craziest part of the video, is when he had to bend the knife.
Yeah, man.
I just kept thinking it was going to break. I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because 90 degrees...
And then he was like, stop.
And, dude, didn't snap. I mean,
no.
I actually backed out because I passed the rope cut, I passed the 2x4 chop, the shave the hair, and then...
The 2x4 chop was impressive as well.
Yeah, man. I mean, that should beat a knife up pretty good.
Yeah. So after the 2x4 chop, they inspect the knife?
They inspect the knife, and then they say whether you can go on or not. We were both ready to go on. Jason had to bend his because he was testing, and I was like, man, I could sell my knife for some money.
Do you have that knife here?
Yeah, it's right there.
Which one
it's
is
the one with the black wrap on it.
This one?
Yeah, and I actually made it out of one of my old horseshoeing rasps because most people... The metal
Here,
on
you hold it up.
the metal on these knives isn't it's not a knife steel, it's just a high carbon tool steel. Mm-hmm. So this is the knife that I tested with. It passed everything, and then I was gonna bend it, and I was like, man, if I bend it, it's trash. So
do you think it would snap back, or would it stay? Does it? That's right. Once they bend it, does it have to return back to normal?
No, it just can't break.
It just can't break. Okay. So you're still fucking.
They don't usually go back to straight.
So they're fucked.
Yeah, they're trash.
Yeah, but you keep that.
Right. So
sure. I mean.
Yeah. So anyway, this is the knife that I tested with, and I'm pretty sure it would have bent, but
why take the risk?
I was kind of hoping that I could sell it, knowing that this knife passes the journeyman test. I was like, and the master smith was like, dude, why are you gonna bend it? It doesn't count. I'm like, okay. So anyway, Jason bent his knife, passed, and then we got home. I was like, I should have bent my knife.
Yeah, just for principle. Like, I'm just as good.
Right.
Damn it.
No, I think it's better you didn't, because then when you do it, it'll be you doing it for the first time. And you might have added pressure where it's like, well, did I do anything different?
Can you bring one
That's
more?
a good way to look at it.
More than one knife?
No.
You bend it when you're supposed to.
No, and here's the thing, man. If you fail, you got to wait 6 months till you can test again.
Yeah, that sucks.
This is on 6 years.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't have counted for me anyway, so there's no time limit for me. But like, say Jason would have failed, he would have had to wait 6 months till he could test, and that's called the performance test, like all the stuff we're talking about. Yeah. And then now that he's passed this, now he goes on to his, like, he has to make 5 knives that'll be juried by a bunch of master smiths.
That's so cool that they still do all that.
And they'll look through it all and say pass or fail. And if he passes that, he gets his journeyman stamp. And then
is that something that's been passed down from like how they used to do things way back in the day?
I don't know how long it's been around, but it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not absolutely necessary, but there are people that collect knives that have journeyman stamps and mastersmith stamps.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely can charge a shit ton more if you look at Jay Nielsen's knives, because he's an ABS mastersmith.
Right.
You can see how much he charges for a knife as opposed to if I made a knife.
See, it's true, but there are guys...
Yeah, you'd probably use a laser cutter.
Listen, you better fucking believe it. And I would fucking...
Look at this fucking guy.
Absolutely.
Talks all that shit and then jumps in the bucket.
I would video me hitting shit, and I'd be like, just cut that shit out.
You're like, can we do some green screen?
Fast forward. Yeah.
Throw some water on my face, make it look like I'm sweating.
Listen, I'm slightly overweight. It's too hot in that room.
But there are guys that make really nice knives that aren't rated by the American Bladesmith Society. Sure. That are mastersmith level, but just never tested.
Never tested.
So there are, but there, like I said, there's collectors that want to have that.
Yeah.
Sure.
That JS.
And it's an added thing to the story as well.
Right.
It was, created by a master smith. How much of, like, and it didn't dawn on me till halfway through the podcast, how much of this is driven by your obsession to take something out of your head, create it, and then that feeling when you see what you pictured in your head and the knife's completely done, how much does that drive you to keep making it? Because all these knives are different, and then eventually we can start going through them, but like they're all so different. So these are all different ideas that you pictured in your head. So how much of the thought of it and getting it out and creating it and the whole process, and then when it's done, that it itches again, that you're like, oh, like, because now like you're gonna think like, oh, well, I can make it that way, but then you can go through the whole process and actually make it. So how much of it is the creative end of it driving you to make all this stuff?
A lot of it. I mean, for me, it's like a stepping stone. Like I started with simple knives, and I keep working myself up to more advanced knives. So it's kind of a challenge to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do make simple knives that people order as well. If someone wants a custom knife, it's not like I'm only making, really expensive knives or really complicated knives. I'm making the knives that I started making too, just better. But it, to me, it's more of a challenge.
And you're a good person, because if I made knives like that, I wouldn't fucking give them to anybody.
Dude,
I would have 8,000 knives in my house.
I got a problem. Like my buddies come who are knife makers. They're like, "Are you ever gonna sell any of your knives?" I'm like, "Dude, I sold a lot." They're like, "Well, what about all these ones sitting in your?" I have a knife cabinet, and I got like cool lights in it and stuff.
Yeah,
This is actually my wife's mom's cabinet she had. We turned it into a knife cabinet, and I'm like, I don't need to sell them. Like this isn't how I make. I mean, it's not how I make a full-time living.
No.
This is like my supplemental income, and I do it because I like it.
But like you said, you're putting your heart and soul into making this, and everyone is different.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to give it away or sell it.
The first
part
one,
of you's in that knife.
Yeah.
So fuck that. Nobody gets it.
First one's hard to sell, man. And that's why I always tell people, like, every knife's part of my story. Like, it's, whether it's the first one or the last one, it's all, like, people don't realize, like, people come to me and be like, man, I really want to buy a knife from you. I'm like, well, which one, like, what are you thinking? What's your price range? And they're like, this, that, or whatever. They're like, man, that's a lot of money for a knife. I'm like, I know it's a lot of money for a knife, but I have a lot of time invested in this knife.
Sure.
I have a lot of time invested in a successful knife. People don't think about all the failures I've had. Okay? Now my failure rate right now is really low. Most of them work out, not all of them, but most of them. But people don't think about how much time I've invested in failures. Sure. To learn the process of making knives. It's the same with anything else. I mean, with what you do, people just don't realize, what it takes to get to that level.
Well, the thing is, you couldn't buy a knife like those. You can buy very cheap versions of them,
right,
but not that quality. So yeah, you're gonna pay extra because it's a better fucking knife.
Absolutely.
Like I carry a pocket knife. It costs $60. It isn't anywhere near as cool as any of those. And that's why I have a pocket knife, because if I break it, oh well, I just spent another $60. But yeah, if you have one of those, it wouldn't break.
That's right.
Constantly. But my wife would kill me. So.
Well, here's the other thing. I mean, these knives, like some of these like custom knives, they're so pretty. I mean, even myself, I don't carry them. I don't want to scratch them.
No.
People are like, I'm going to use them.
Listen,
like, I don't care what you do with it.
No,
use it. I want you to use it.
It's the ongoing argument too even with firearms.
Right.
I have a bunch of firearms, and I treat them like, and it took me a long time. There are some that I don't give a shit. I'll beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
But a couple of the classes, the one guy comes out and he takes his gun out of his holster, takes the magazine out, takes the round out, and throws it down the fucking ground. And everybody's like, oh my God. And he's like, it's a fucking tool. Use it.
Yeah.
It's not a fucking antique. And I have a couple guns that I treat them like fucking antiques, but
right.
I beat the shit out of them. But yeah, this stuff, a lot of them they're pretty. I wouldn't want to cut anything with them.
I would use the shit out of that chef knife. I'd use it every fucking fight. But that's different though. You know what I mean? Like it's a tool used for food, and like I love cooking. So like if you're even cutting an onion or a tomato and you don't have a sharp knife, it fucking sucks.
And it's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's actually dangerous if you have dull knives.
Well, I'm really looking forward to getting our Luke Dellmyer never again chef knives out.
And that's the most recent one you made?
Yeah, this is one that actually me and my buddy are working on to make a production line.
Yeah.
Something that's kind of, more affordable, but custom at the same time. And, it's kind of a Japanese style knife. It's high carbon knife, but
it's so fucking light.
Super cool. It's very light.
It feels so dangerous.
So
I just wanted to stab somebody when I held it.
You want to cut something when you pick it up.
Yeah, I did immediately.
So
I was just like,
How do you pick what metal you're going to use for stuff like that? Because I looked into it pretty heavy, and I had a lot of time at work, and I spent a long time trying to figure out even a good sturdy pocket knife.
Right.
Like, what do I need? Because it's like anything else, even like a firearm. What goes with my needs? What am I going to cut with it? What am I going to use with it? There are so many different kinds of fucking steel.
Yeah.
And they all have different values as far as hardness, as far as sharpening, as far as blade retention, as far as all that. How do you pick? Is it a long process, or you just...
Well, I deal mainly with high carbon
Yeah.
steels right now. I want to get into stainless steel. Stainless steel doesn't hold an edge quite as good as high carbon.
Yeah.
But like, for example, say like you want a chef knife and you don't want it to patina. High carbon chef knives will patina.
Yeah, so you gotta go
And
stainless.
all
And what
chef-
is patina? Just a mild rust?
it's not really a rust. It's just a discoloration of the metal.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you keep it oiled,
Yeah.
it won't rust. But if you
I learned that today.
if you buy a high carbon chef knife and leave water on it and throw it in the cabinet,
Yeah.
it's gonna rust. You know, it's high carbon. It's not stainless.
Yeah.
But it will hold a better edge. Where stainless steel, you know, throw it away wet, it'll never rust, but it's not gonna hold an edge as well as high carbon.
Which is why you have to constantly keep sharpening.
Sharpen it before you do everything.
Yeah.
And you're going to sharpen high carbon too, but not as often as what a stainless
Yeah.
would be. So there's certain steels. I mean, you know, there's a million different steels. I'm not.
It's fucking insane. So even if you go and look for a knife, like I'll try to stick with certain ones that I know or work.
Yeah.
Like if I'm gonna get a pocket knife, I always try to get like D2 just tool steel.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking tried and true, and you can beat the shit out of it.
Right.
But it's not gonna stay as sharp as a different kind.
That's
you
right.
know? And then if you get the cheaper knives, which is like the CR blah blah blah, and there's a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah, it's like the Chinese
Yeah, and, you're like,
stainless.
and
yeah.
it's some kind of mixture of 18 different things, and you're like, oh, well, look how cool this knife is. Look how sharp it is. And you realize, oh, it's shit metal, and if I cut anything with it,
It's gonna be
I'll cut
dull.
one thing, and then it'll be dull again.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird things that's like, I one day I went down a rabbit hole, and I went through like 3 different people that list their top knives, like their top blades to use, like
Right.
metals, and all of them were completely different.
Yeah.
Everybody had different views on why.
Right.
It's just as long as you had the main ones, you know, for any kind of like swords and stuff like that, they're saying like a spring steel because
Like a 5160.
yeah. It's just a generic that everybody uses.
It's resilient.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the same thing. It depends on your use and your purpose for it. I mean, I'm not gonna get into the whole list of steels because I don't want to bore
Oh
you
no,
guys.
there's
But there's
30
so
or
many.
40, and then there's derivatives. There's
Yeah.
weird ones from Germany that they mixed that
Right,
one person made up.
and then you get into Damascus and different patterns of Damascus.
Oh, it's awesome.
That's what this one is?
Damascus
Yeah, that's
is such a
Damascus.
beautiful fuck. Hold that
But
up.
actually,
for the
both
fucking
those are Damascus. But
Damascus is such a cool looking fucking knife.
yeah, this one's awesome. This is a serpent feather Damascus. It's 15 and 20, which has nickel in it. That's the shiny parts are the nickel coming
Yeah.
out. And what we do is we just layer high carbon steel and 15 and 20. So we use like a 1084 steel, which
Yep.
is high carbon. Then a 15 and 20, which has a lot of nickel in it. And we'll stack it. We'll get it hot to almost melting temperature. We'll forge it together into one solid block. And then the way we manipulate that block, like we'll draw that, say we stack a 4-inch piece together. We'll weld that. We'll draw it out. That'll end up being almost a 2-foot piece of steel. Then we'll cut that, say
It's like four
four
spots, yeah.
spots. We'll layer that again, clean it all up, layer it again. Keep
So now
repeating
you're
that process.
and you lose track when you're like, okay, well now it's 4, 8,
Yeah.
12, now it's 16 layers, and then draw it out again. Now it's 32, 64.
Right,
And it
it-
continually goes layer after layer. And that, how many layers is that one?
We didn't count with this because
But a lot.
we had 3 days just in making the steel for this.
So it's a lot. It's a shit ton.
It's a lot, man. It's easily over 1,000. If I told you what it was, I'd be lying.
Yeah.
I didn't keep track. But, you know, figure you start with 40 layers, you stretch it out, right? Cut it 4 times. That's 160 layers.
Yeah.
Next time you do it, quadruple that again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
You
it
can
just,
go, yeah.
Yeah, it gets crazy.
And then you acid edge it to kind of pull that out.
Yeah, we drop it in ferric chloride, which eats away. I mean, when that knife is ground, it just looks like a regular steel knife, and it's amazing. You drop it in the acid.
And
Clean.
everything beautiful comes out.
Yes.
I got
Yeah.
piss.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Should I stop it? Or should
No,
we
you guys can keep talking.
talk some
unless
other
you guys
selves.
have to piss.
You want to piss together?
Yeah, so there's a
Sword
bucket.
fights?
Yeah,
I don't really have a bathroom.
I'm out.
Sword fights?
I'm out.
Oh, yeah, it gets crazy. Like I said, I looked into all that and I was like, I forget what knife my brother just got. And I mean, not to mention there's so many different styles of knives. Everybody kind of has their take on how they make their things. You know, one person's Bowie might be kind of the same as somebody else's, but if they put a different take on it, they're going to say it's a Bowie knife, and it's really not a Bowie knife.
Yeah, and then you get into hidden tangs, full tangs. I mean,
yeah, I lose track of that.
Yeah, there's a lot, but
it's a never-ending fucking.
There's people that are crazy about there's crazy collectors. That's what I'm starting to learn. You know,
yeah, you don't need to get involved in that.
Dude, I got into making knives for fun.
Yeah,
and
for
now
cool shit.
And now I'm like, just this whole
you got to
whole wormhole.
Cool, yeah, but like I said, there are so many different things, and I look into people are like, oh, that thing, whatever, I would have got it in this kind of fucking steel and this kind of stuff. You know what? I'm not gonna take my fucking pocket knife and cut fucking bone with it.
Right.
Like that's not my intentions.
Yeah.
So I don't need a certain type of knife that's able to do that. I also am not gonna go and chip off pieces of rock. Like, I'm gonna use it to cut shit if something needs something opened. If I need to cut, that's basically what I use.
You're not going to chop like an old Harley handlebar.
No, because it's like I got really angry and I want to chop somebody's handlebar in half.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Was there a learning curve with the chef knives? Like, did you have to do different stuff? I'm sure you do different things for everyone, but...
Yeah. Yeah, every knife...
How was it differently because of, like, what you actually use it for cooking with, like... How you said Jason used to cook?
Yes, he was a chef.
Yeah, so like with the weight of it and the rock on it, and like there's just so many little things that you use a cooking knife differently for than you would another knife.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the rock is a big thing. You know, how it feels in your hand, the weight of it, the length of it.
That's so light.
Your cutting style. And the other thing is, like, chef knives are almost ground to what we call a zero grind. So that
I was going to say, the grind style, however you want the edge to be.
I mean, it's a very, very thin grind. So once you get down that thin, there's not a margin for error.
So, so that blade, the edge on that is going to be different than, say, somebody who's
like a chopper.
Chopping fucking, who's chopping.
Do you have a chopper?
Yeah, man. Like, well, this is the one that we did the test with.
Yeah.
Like,
what's this one?
That's a chop. That's a big Bowie too.
That's a knife.
But if you look at this one, like if you measured the width of this blade, like these chef knives are like under 10,000ths. Like these are probably around 20 to 30 because you need a thicker edge geometry so that the edge will hold up when you're chopping a tree. Like if it's a camp knife, if you're chopping a tree down or batoning wood, whatever you're doing with it, a chef knife. Like I'd like to think my chef knives will probably do it. But you want to give more mass there just to make sure your edge.
Plus, you want to remove more wood as possible.
Doesn't roll.
And that's going to leave very fine little cuts, as opposed to that's going to be more of a chunk.
Right. Well, that and also the edge geometry of this, like you see how wide the spine is.
Yeah.
So it's like a wedge. It's like driving a wedge into a tree when you're splitting firewood. Like there's no wedge to a chef knife.
Yeah.
It's 1/8 inch down to 0, pretty much. So that answer your question?
Yeah. I'm excited to use that thing. I want to test it out.
You can't.
You can test it.
It's just for show.
No, we've been talking about coming up with a chef knife for a year.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to get a formula down and when he can do them and get it at a solid I know a lot, dude. As soon as I started talking about them, and it comes down to whether or not the person's going to... That's got to be the other hard thing, too, with the business, is it comes down to whether or not you're going to pay what it's worth.
That it's very hard with anything handmade.
But if you're a chef, how much do chef knives cost? Real chef knives, you would know more than anybody.
Well, a lot of the chefs that
they have their own set,
like actual chefs that like went to school and stuff like that. I believe you have to. It's been so long since I talked to him. Like Chico's brother, like you have an entire set. So like when you're at that level, I don't think the price is something that you would question. You know what I mean? Because they're spending, like, I think the one knife he has might be over $1,000 that he paid for it. And it's like Japanese steel or something. I don't know the exact terms of it, but it's a good knife that you're paying good money for. To him, that's worth it because he's using that all day, every day, hours upon a day, where then there's people who'll be like, oh, that's cool.
It's tools of the trade.
I really want that. And then you tell them the price and they're just like, I'm not paying for that. That's got to be such a...
I do barbecues on the weekend.
Yeah.
And they're not going to buy a knife like that.
No. And it's tough. Like, I've been pretty lucky. Most people that contact me about making a custom knife or even a semi-custom knife, their price usually isn't a...
Yeah, if they're asking you to build something, they're not coming in to lowball you.
Yeah, they know it could be more than a knife at Target or where they're going to go. And like, I mean, we're busy enough that, you know, I'm just trying to be fair and honest with my pricing.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about it today when we were going over pricing.
I'm not trying to beat anyone up. I'm just trying to get the hours I put into it. You know, there's a lot of hours that go into each knife. You know, people don't realize. I think a lot of people don't realize the time, even just in the heat treatment alone. You know?
No,
it's.
I mean, it's like I know. I see a peek into what you're doing, and it still doesn't register with me because I was like, well, what is the minimum you would have to do? And you were like, well, with the hours I put in and what it would be, this is the price, is where I basically make no money.
Yeah.
And then it's like, that's a high price. Not a high price, but it's like, it's not cheap.
Yeah, it's more than you think it would be.
Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy learning.
Probably $20-$30.
It's crazy, but I mean, some people might think that. But then it also is like when the people who do the laser cutouts and all that, are those knives cheaper because it's not going into the amount of work?
Yeah.
Yes.
So then that's also where you probably get people that have the fluctuation of the prices because they see something like that and they're like, well, why is that $150?
Well, I can tell you, you can go on Amazon and look up chef knives.
Yeah.
And they'll range anywhere from $50 a piece to a couple thousand. And if you read the reviews, if you don't know about knives, you might think that $50 one seems like it's everything you're going to want to, you know.
Yeah.
And it might. It might be if you were going to use a knife once every couple months, it might be okay for you. But if you're a chef or you do a lot of cooking, you do a lot of chopping, you do a lot of things, it's not going to, you know, it's just not going to last. It's not going to do the fucking job.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you can either go to Harbor Freight and buy fucking tools there and they might work, or you buy real tools.
Yeah.
That'll actually last a lot. Same kind of thing.
I've definitely been in kitchens where it's just the knives suck. We have like the thing that you pull and it sharpens it for an hour, if that, and then it's just the restaurant owner's tired of spending, you know, $60, $75 at the restaurant store. And then I've worked in restaurants where if you're doing majority of the prep, they have the shitty knives, but then most of the people bring their own knife in.
Okay.
And then it's just, you don't leave your knife there. You don't really let anyone else use it.
Did you see the new
It's
service?
your tool that you bring with you.
Yeah.
Did you see they added a new service? You can send your knives out to like sharpeners.
Well, there's sharpeners that used to come into the restaurant.
Well, now there's a mail-in one, and I just saw an ad the other day. It came on in the middle of the night, and it was like, you know, do you have chef knives? You have this stuff, and they'll send you a kit. You put your knife, you wrap it up, and you basically do all the shit, and you send it to them. And I forget how much is a knife. You send it, and they'll actually sharpen it for you. And I was like, that's fucking lazy.
Yeah.
That's super fucking lazy. But
how long did
like
it take?
Me, I would fuck it up. So
how long did it take you to learn to sharpen the knives and put the edge on them and everything?
So I got to be kind of honest here.
So wait, here's a real question: how many knives have you fucked up trying to sharpen it the correct way?
A lot.
Yep.
And there's a lot of them that I was like, well, it's another one for the wall, you know, because you take too.
And that's why they cost a lot too.
Yeah, when you
that shit takes a long time.
When you get that thin, just to get, you know, when the knife's that thin at the edge before you put the edge on it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a big margin. I mean, we're going with really high grit belts. Like we use a lot of belts to get them close to sharp. Then we'll stone finish them or in leather strop them, stuff like that. But there's no margin for error. So if you mess it up, and that's like you put all this time in these knives, and then you go to sharpen it. That's so heartbreaking. Yeah. I mean, it's a humbling craft, to say the least.
Because that'll make and break a knife.
Yeah. I mean, most of these are sharp on the table, but I mean, you know, we always do tests to show people how sharp they are. Like, try to get an empty water bottle, put it on the table, and cut it in half. It's really hard.
Yeah.
You know, they'll shave your legs, they'll shave your face. I mean, they're sharp, you know.
How long did it take you to figure that out? Like
months? Yeah, year.
Yeah.
I mean, I could always get them sharp, but I used to have hours into getting the knife sharp. Now I can do it in 10 minutes.
That's crazy.
And then, I mean, it'll make the hairs will jump off your arm.
What do you suggest for somebody who would buy one of your knives on how they keep it sharp? Like a stone or...
Yeah, I think a water stone.
Yeah.
Water stones are nice. They're expensive. Also, Spyderco makes a sharpening system that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, dude.
It holds the correct angle for you, so you're pretty much just.
Is that the ones where you like put it in the plastic and just pull?
Yeah, there's like 2 safety guards
Yeah.
that V out, and then the stone's in the middle. And
Spyderco makes decent knives.
yeah, and
They do.
the sharpeners. I mean, for someone who doesn't know how to sharpen a knife,
Yep.
it's simple. It's
Yeah,
It's
I
like
would get
100
it down here at the studio, other than spending a shitload of money on a sharpening stone.
Yeah, or just a honing stick for a chef knife.
Yeah, yeah,
Like a ceramic honing.
yeah. That's what they have at Widow's.
If you know how to use it right, it's perfect. It'll touch your edge up in a couple
But
strokes.
if you don't know how to use it right,
you can mess it up.
yeah, that's why you go with the Spyderco.
Yeah, Spyderco you can't mess up.
Yeah.
I mean it's built at a certain angle.
Yep.
And you have to follow it.
Yeah,
So it's pretty good. They make a lot of other expensive sharpening systems too, but Spyderco is the best bang for your buck.
where'd you make the axe from?
That's just made out of a 1-inch square piece of 1080 steel, high carbon steel.
This thing's fucking crazy too. Here, hold that up.
All right.
You have the better angle.
And then did you burn the wood?
Yeah, just
Yep,
burn the
that
wood.
looks awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
And as you can tell, this is one that we were throwing for a while just for fun. But yeah, just burned it, give it some texture and look.
How much of a rabbit hole do you go down with all the different handles?
A lot.
Yeah, because it's got to completely change the knife, the look, the feel.
Yeah.
Like the one Glenn bought, which was the railroad spike. Do you do a lot of stuff like that?
It's funny. I don't make a lot of railroad spike knives. I made the one that I said was the first knife I ever made.
Yeah.
And I've made a couple others. I just it's like kind of been there, done that.
Yeah.
But the one that Glenn just bought had a cool handle, like a pineapple
Yeah.
twist. It had a nice drop handle on
It
it.
was cool.
It was actually really cool.
Yeah.
He like commented, and I was as soon as I saw his name on it, I was like, he's definitely buying that.
Yeah, he loved it. It was a super cool knife.
Yeah,
you know?
it fits Glenn very well.
Yeah, it's nice. But I make a lot of knives out of my old Farrier rasps. You know, they're kind of repurposed. People like that. Horse people like them. Like this one. You can see it's got still the knurls on it from the file
Yeah.
on both sides. So that's kind of cool. You know, people buy
And that's just high carbon steel.
just high carbon. Yeah, it's like a 1095 steel. But people like it, especially if I was like, hey, this file might have been used on your horse. Now you can have a
Yeah, now you should buy this from me.
a Bowie knife, or you can make kitchen knives out of them, whatever you want.
When did your because I know kind of like the step by step you were doing with everything. It's like, where would you say you're at now, where you have the website, you're moving the stuff off of Instagram and whatnot, but you're 100% like a fully functioning knife shop.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, man, we're up and running. I started in my garage with a little grinder that was like my horseshoeing grinder, which isn't made for knives. I kind of jerry-rigged the backrest of it so that it could grind knives, because you couldn't even push the knife. Like these are called your plunge lines in here, back where the blade meets the steel. I couldn't even get the knife in there to grind it right. So, I mean, I had that grinder and an anvil and a fire and a drill press. Now I have I got a full Bridgeport milling machine. I have a surface grinder. I have an awesome new knife grinder that I just bought about a year and a half ago. I just built a hydraulic press for making Damascus, so you guys are start seeing a lot more Damascus knives. Man, I got like everything I need now.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it feels good. I mean, there's a couple little things here and there I need, but kind of been chipping away at it the last 2 years, and I know where I want to be, and I'm trying to get there.
Yeah, like that's what I was going to ask you with like how you were saying, you can get by and you have, you are shoeing horses full time and it's your career. With your projection of what you're doing and how fast you're growing, do you think you'll be able to just be selling knives?
So I think I can be.
I think you will be.
Yeah.
I've said and I know how like people talk to me about like the things I'm trying to do.
Right.
And it's hard. Not that you don't believe in yourself, but you have a goal.
Sure.
And then it's like, people be like, oh, well, you're doing this and that. And you're like, I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, I see how fast you're growing from, a third perspective of it. And then for you to be like, yeah, I think I can do it. Like, I think you 100% are probably halfway there, if not more.
I appreciate it. Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm always going to shoe horses.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it up. I like shoeing horses. I like making knives. Like as I get older, I don't want to be 60 years old climbing under a horse. You know,
Yeah, it's
like
pretty dangerous, right?
well, it's dangerous and it's hard on your body. Like if you see a lot of old horseshoers, I mean, they're walking around with their, you know,
Because you're hunched over,
all
basically
day.
trapping the leg, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy.
yeah,
And you're also, I mean, your wife is 100% fully committed to horses. So it's not like that's not going to be a part of your life.
exactly.
Like you're on a horse farm. Like
Yeah.
you guys are giving
Yeah.
lessons.
Yeah.
You keep people's horses there. So
Yeah, I mean, we were like, I mean, that's how we met. I mean, we met almost 20 years ago on a horse farm. I mean, she's a horse girl. I'm a horse guy. We've both been around them our whole life. I mean, I like, you know, I like living on a farm. I like being involved with the horses. And I mean, Kat's awesome with the horses, you know, and I won't be able to give up shoeing horses because I'll at least have to shoe ours. But
Yeah.
I want to do more than that. You know, if I get to the point where I'm shoeing horses like 3 days a week and I'm making knives 3 days a week, that'd be awesome. It gives me a little time to stand up as I'm getting older, you know, straighten my back
Yeah.
out, and it also keeps that passion and drive alive. You know, I feel like if I did it every day, maybe I wouldn't enjoy it as much as I do. I mean, I do it every day, but it's a couple hours a day. It's not. I'm not doing
Yeah,
it.
doing little bits and pieces. Here
I'm
and
not
there.
doing it 10 or 12 hours
Yeah.
a day, if that makes sense.
yeah,
You know.
it's not, well, I mean, it would never really become a job because you're passionate about it.
Right.
But the grind of it would definitely start wearing on you where you'd be like, dude, like all I'm doing is making this shit every it would just get so overwhelming where
Yeah. I don't want it to be monotonous.
or you have like, I have to hire help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's fun.
I'm trying to keep
Listen,
it fun. You know.
I
Yeah.
will cut that shit out of lasers. No problem. don't
Jesse's
worry.
gonna be my new competition.
Out of yeah, I'll be like, look at that, cut it right out.
Yeah.
My videos will look like I'm really doing it. I'm gonna fake it. Fuck it.
Do it. But yeah, I mean,
There's just so many different ways you can go
got
with a
it.
knife.
there is, and like I'm still.
That's why I don't
I'm
think I
still-
could ever do it because I wouldn't be able to complete one because there's so many different ways I wouldn't be happy with what I did.
And I'm kind of the same way. There's so many different avenues to go, and there's so much stuff I haven't made yet.
Yeah.
Like it's.
I do like the crazy pins.
I
The
like
different
that
color
bottle
thing.
opener you made me.
Dude, that's a rabbit hole too.
Dude, that thing's, I use that all the time. That's a
Yeah.
badass bottle opener.
Works good.
Yeah.
Awesome. I like doing all that stuff, and dude, I would sleep in my shop. Like I just love making stuff. I love
Yeah.
making knives. I love making bottle openers, gates, whatever it is. I love it. So I just want to keep that. I want to keep that passion alive, and you know, hey, who knows? Maybe in a couple of years, I'll have a couple guys working for me making some part of the knife, and
Yeah, because you're giving out, and I want to give you a chance to plug all your social media and kind of go over what all you guys offer, including the horse farm, and then we'll wrap up on you making his sword.
oh boy, that might be a whole nother podcast.
I don't want to get involved in that.
But like if because I was gonna, my question was is like, are you having anybody approaching you how you approach that guy, or you know, is someone wanting to learn more? But I didn't realize until Jesse told me that you're offering classes now.
Yeah. Actually, I've had a lot of people call me. Hey, I want to come make a knife. And like when I started making knives, man, I looked everywhere, and no one would get back to me. No one would teach me.
I feel like that's the best way to create a business.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I'm like, man, like I'll pay you. Like, just tell me what I need to. I was willing to drive hours away to get a class, and people are like, if they did call me back, they're like, no, sorry, I don't do classes. I'm like, listen, man.
Well, there really isn't any places around here. Now that you mention it.
No, there's not. I mean, there's a.
No, there is actually a blacksmithing class,
Yeah.
which it's like ornamental blacksmithing
Right.
kind of thing. I think at like the banana place in Bethlehem.
Factory?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because one day when I was talking to my wife, and we were watching the show, and my daughter's really
My
into like
wife.
the Forge and Fire thing, and she'll watch it with me. And she was like, "Why don't you go make a knife?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll look it up. I'll see where there's one." And it just kept coming up like ornamental
Yeah.
blacksmithing, and
Yeah,
I was like, "There is no place to go make a knife."
Just call me.
Yeah,
We can do blacksmithing. We can do knife making. But like, I like people, man, and I like teaching people. So
How would anyone get a hold of you for that? Through Instagram, or is there
Yeah, they can
a way
just-
to book it on the website?
yeah, the website. You can go
Yeah.
through the website. There's
And that's LukeDellmyer.com.
LukeDellmyer.com. There's an email link. Also, you can just DM me on Instagram, whatever's easiest.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm trying to give back a little bit because I know how hard it was for me to get started. And it was very frustrating.
Anytime anybody asks me about t-shirts, even when you approach me, you're like, oh, look, I don't want to be a pain in the ass. And I'm like, dude, I had no one to cut out any of the bullshit for me at all. And then that's actually how I started getting into sales through Axelrad, is I was helping so many people. They were like, yo, why don't you start getting paid to do this? And I was just like, well, what do you mean? And they're like, well, we'll cut you in on a percentage. But like, that's how many people I was just helping, because it's frustrating when you don't know what the fuck you're doing and you're passionate, or maybe you're seeing if you could even want to be passionate about doing something. Right. And those roadblocks suck. And I always try and push those down.
And you don't want people to go through that shit.
Yeah.
Because it's horrible. Like, you don't want to see somebody like
a lot of people drop out.
Or like, yeah, like somebody who's frustrated and they could have made their own t-shirt or got into t-shirt design, or like, look where t-shirts got me, where it's just a creative avenue. So it's like, I always 100%, I'm like, always like, yeah, man, like here, I'll push the ropes down, come over. And then if you want to hang out in here and deal with the horse shit, then stay here. If not, maybe it wasn't for you, but I would never not help somebody out. So that's awesome that you would even create that as a service.
Yeah, I always like to have my door open.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like you said, you know how hard it is.
It sucks.
Yeah. People don't want to take the time because it slows you down to teach. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It slows you down to teach people no matter what it is.
Yeah.
But,
So we're going to steal the leaf spring off of Flowerbox truck. We're going to make a fucking sword out of it.
Can't we just get one off of like a
junkyard?
junkyard?
No, got to be off your truck. You have to steal it. It has to be harvested. It has to be harvested.
Wait another year. It's almost got 300,000 miles.
It has to be harvested from that, so it's like a sacrifice.
Yeah, we can do that. Let's make a sword. I made a katana. I started a katana, but
I want to do a sword, and I want to do it with. I don't want to do a katana. I'm too fat. I look silly with that. I want something that I'm not gonna look stupid if I hold it.
Okay.
Like that thing over there, but that one's fake. That one's ornamental.
Okay. So if we build you a sword,
It's got to have what's the fucking line in the middle? What's it called with an F?
Fuller?
Fuller, yes. It got to have fuller in it. Okay. Because then you can make it lighter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to do that. I think that would be cool looking.
You draw it and we'll make it.
I can't.
And then you have to dress up like whatever time period you're trying.
I will listen.
Maybe we just go to the Renaissance Fair.
Yes,
and we film it with him carrying the sword around.
Listen, I raised my hand so fast when we went to
we'll definitely do that.
Medieval times, and they're like, "Who wants to come out?" And I'm like, "Yes!" No, they didn't pick me.
Yeah.
And Sarah was like, "Put your fucking hand down." I will be in there.
We should do that. That'd be such a good weekend. There'd be so much great footage.
Put some fucking chainmail on me.
I will donate. I'll donate the sword for that. Yeah.
I like the idea of having the fuller because, like I said, you can make it lighter. It just looks cooler.
Yeah.
It does. It looks a way fucking cooler.
Yeah, and it makes it way lighter. Yeah. Draw it, man. You can draw it.
I can't draw.
We'll build it.
I'll make another computer.
Have Michael draw it for you.
I can't draw, but I can get somebody else.
I'll send you a picture.
There you go. That works too.
I have a picture of another one. I'll show you.
Okay.
It's simplistic as far as everything. The handle's a little ornamental. It's a little flairish. I don't really want to fucking.
Okay.
I'll do generic.
Dub it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does anyone get a hold of you if they want to get a custom knife? Everything is primarily on the website. They can get a hold of you for all that stuff.
Yeah, website has my phone number, email.
Classes, and then
you can check out some of
you have the knives. You have some of the knives on there for sale.
I don't have my sale page up yet on my website. I'm working on it. I do have some knives.
Do you have them on your Instagram?
I do.
Okay.
I post them periodically. Knives that come available. But anyone who would like a custom knife built can just contact me and tell me what.
How is it going online? Are you selling them quick like that online?
It's been awesome. I mean, like I said, my website sale page isn't up yet, but when I post something on Instagram, it usually sells in a day or two.
Did you see that dude? He follows you. He puts his up for auction. That's ballsy though.
Yeah.
Did you see that? That's ballsy.
It is.
He follows you, and then he started following me, and I followed him, and he's like, "Hey, I made this knife. It's up for auction for 3 days. Start your bidding." And I'm like, "Man, what if people don't get that post?" Somebody paid. I mean, he's gotten decent amounts of money for his knives.
Yeah.
So it hasn't fucked him over yet.
Well, what do you do? You have to just start at a bidding price of what you would want?
You literally starts at zero. Like, put your bid, and people are like, "Oh yeah, first couple people are dicks. They're like $5." Fuck off.
I bid $1 on his post. Did you see that? Then my buddy bid
There you
$2.
go.
Yeah, but I mean, it's got to be anything
that's
like
ballsy.
eBay,
Because
where you
have to
could
be
create
sure.
a second account to buff it up, or you could know people that could come on
Yeah.
it. It's like those eBay things.
I think it ended up
I'm not
selling
saying
for
that guy's
$200
doing
or
that at all.
something.
He's
Yeah.
getting hundreds for it. So
Yeah, he's doing fine. We just mess with him. But
Yeah.
but
that's ballsy. I would be afraid to do
it's
that.
hit or miss. And then like what other guys do is they do the raffle. So
Yeah.
say you want to sell that knife for $500, right? You have 10 spots. It's $50 a spot, and then
Yeah.
1 through 10, whatever number draws.
So you're getting your 500, but then somebody's getting a really cool knife for $50.
right, but it's illegal in Pennsylvania.
The fuck?
Yeah.
Why?
You can do
get a
auction. It's
gaming
gambling.
license?
Yeah.
Gaming license. You have to get some kind of gaming
Right. So you
permit.
can do an auction, but you can't do a raffle.
Yeah.
So what's the loophole of being able to do that?
Live in another state, like California. Yeah.
Is Jersey illegal?
I don't know.
I doubt it.
Probably not.
No, it's no fun over there.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be NJ. It should be NF. No fun. They don't do anything. But same thing. They're trying to stop the gun raffles and stuff, because a lot of people are doing gun raffles.
New Jersey or
no,
Instagram?
Pennsylvania.
Okay.
They're trying to slowly put a stop on that, because people are like, he won this gun at a raffle.
Right.
Yeah, so what?
A meat raffle.
But they're all long rifles, right?
No, there's pistols.
Oh, you can auction. You can.
Yeah. You have to get a permit. You get a permit, and they run it through a gun place. So somebody with an FFL would have to post it.
Then you go pick it up.
Yeah, usually you go and they give you the option. Either you win the gun or you win a percentage or whatever of what the gun's worth.
Gotcha.
In like a thing. So you can do it. You just need to have a some kind of permit, some kind of gaming permit or whatever. Most of those places, like if it's like a FFL or something like that, that's who puts them on. I don't know how you do it with knives. You'd have to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean the big thing with like even doing an auction is if whoever's auctioning that knife, you need to make sure they're 18 years old.
That's the problem. Who buys the tickets have to be at least that.
Yeah, and how do you know if they're lying or not?
You just card them if they lie and they don't win.
Yeah, but most people are from out of state. I mean,
beat
like
their fucking ass.
I bought beer from California before like all the microbrews were popular, and I remember we were trying to get who could get the grossest beer, and I just bought it because it was Arrogant Bastard Ale, and I just liked there was like a gargoyle on it, and I bought it online.
They sell it here.
Yeah, but like at the time
Yeah, now
it was out in Cali only, so like I ordered it and got it sent to Josh's house, and I had to like put my age information, and the UPS guy was supposed to card me, and he just left it there, and I was like, dude, we could have been getting beer for like the last 3 years online instead of I mean, all it would take is one time you get carded, but yeah, it starts getting sketchy, and the last thing you need is some bullshit attached to your name that some fucking kid in Skokie, Illinois was 12 years old and bought a buck knife.
yeah, right, exactly. So you can order beer online, and they'll drop it off at your house,
And they card you. I don't know how it is now. I was 22.
Yeah, there's the microbrews, and I think
You could definitely get beer online. They have like wine clubs and shit.
Booze now, you can order like different kinds of liquor.
Okay.
And then they'll send it. But see, here's the thing: Pennsylvania, you can't have liquor shipped into the state. Other states, you can actually go and say, "Hey, I like this, say, moonshine that's from fucking wherever, West Virginia."
Right.
If you don't live in Pennsylvania, they can send it to you. But you live in Pennsylvania, the PLCB controls everything. So you can only order something through their store, and if it's approved through them.
So it's like
Pennsylvania's stopping alcohol sales.
So it's like fireworks.
Yeah.
How it used to be.
Used to be, exactly.
Right.
Yep. People used to come from Jersey and buy fireworks.
From Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and then drive over like, yay! Yeah.
But you can't buy them if you live in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the stores are in Pennsylvania.
Right.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Camo 40s is what won that contest of the grossest beer.
That's
Should've got
a beer.
Yeah,
You should
it's
get-
called Camo, and it was just camo on a 40, and it's literally the worst thing I've ever drank in my entire life. And I've drank beer out of construction boots
There you
and
go.
parking lots in Philadelphia. Camo 40 is
lived-
the worst alcohol I've ever had. I threw up, and I don't usually throw up.
When
from
I
beer.
lived in Brooklyn, they had Steel Reserve. They were 99-cent 40-ounce.
Black
cans.
Label was $7 a case.
I've heard of that.
It is not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. Oh, the Black Reserve still. That's Carlson's Black Label.
Yeah,
It's
it was
actually
$7 for the case. That was the first time I ever got drunk.
They still sell it.
Just paying for the aluminum.
Yeah, they still sell it. Right?
Well, I want to thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I definitely want to have you back on with Jason next time he's in town, and I think we have a donor for the second light setup.
Okay.
Our show stalker, Kelly Pettis.
Yeah.
She said she's going to donate him to the show if we talk about her.
But she wants to put the lights directly on him so she could see him better.
No, but she didn't. She just said I have to like mention her, but we're just going to do it in derogatory fashion, and she doesn't realize that. But I mean, we've been talking about doing this for a while, and it was cool reconnecting with you through 10th Planet, and it was crazy how that Christmas party is kind of what kicked off us becoming like actual friends instead of acquaintances, man. And,
for sure.
You do outstanding, phenomenal work. You're super humble with how you do it. You're the least arrogant person I've ever met that makes ridiculously badass stuff, and
Thanks,
I
man.
only continue to support you 100% in every avenue you go with doing this, man, because you're just completely shining on it. So thank you for taking the time out. I know you bust your ass and you got a kid and married and everything, and it's not easy to come down here, so we appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thanks for all you guys
awesome.
do for me too, man. You guys
Absolutely.
have been, you guys have been awesome to get my website up and
Ups and downs with
t-shirts
some of that stuff.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
And it's LukeDellmyer.com.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for tuning in and all of the information on our sponsors. And thanks again because you're a sponsor of the show now.
Yeah,
So
sure.
your ad will actually run on the next one, which is Valley Prep Meal Prep,
Yeah,
and
Meal
then
Prep,
this one.
yeah.
But you can get all the information you need for past shows, present shows, and everything else down below this. Thank you.